All right, guys, so 2 weeks ago, I posted these photos here. And one of the main questions I got, other than, oh, now do you get so sexy, was how did I edit these photos? Specifically the ones with several people in them. So I thought, hey, I've never really made a video about how you can use Photoshop creatively to do some fun stuff. And I thought, hey, let's do it this week. What is up, guys? Welcome back to Once Upon a Time. I apologize for the really crappy lighting. I'm filming this a little bit late. I'm actually filming this a day before posting it because I was just at a wedding last week and I didn't have any time to shoot. But as I mentioned before, we're gonna go over 3 really cool edits that you can do in Photoshop. Really beginner levels. I'm gonna kind of explain as much as I can. However, if you feel like I'm going too fast, you can slow down the video and do the stuff yourself. But it's pretty self-explanatory if you haven't used Photoshop before. Before we get into filming, I just wanna say thank you guys so much for 6,000 subscribers. I remember doing a video saying thank you for 100 subscribers, and it still boggles my mind that people are willing to watch me and just support me in general. So thank you so much, and that's enough yapping. Let's shoot these photos and then get into the editing. Let's do it. All right, so the lighting setup here is really easy. It's the same one as 2 videos ago. It's just a 1 strobe light at the top. Also, here's everybody that helped out. We have May, the model, Josie as the PA, and Tassia as the makeup artist. You should check them out. They're fantastic. But this is just a quick recap of the whole photo shoot here. We just did a couple different setups, and that's it. All right, so now that we have the photos, let's get into editing. This first effect I want to call the ghost effect, or the slow shutter, fake slow shutter kind of effect. It's a really cool effect that makes kind of like this ghostly shape out of the model. And the really cool thing is you can use any kind of photo on this, outside or inside, preferably something with a solid background, because otherwise it would look a little bit weird if you're getting that kind of slow shutter speed out in the streets, as well as it shows the torso of the model all the way up and there's no cutting edges. The reason for that is because you want to leave enough room for the model's ghost to kind of like float around and look like there's some motion. But yeah, let's get into Photoshop. Super easy. Let's do it. All right, guys, so now that we have our photo here in Photoshop, first thing we want to do is select our subject. For that, I use object selection on the top left here, and that's going to select our subject for us. You're going to copy that twice and unselect the top layer into the middle one. Then you're going to go to your filter gallery, you're going to go to your blur gallery, and then path blur. That's going to take you to this little page here where you can just kind of play around with this arrow. What does that arrow do? That arrow shows you the blurriness, or kind of like a preview of what the effect is going to look like before it's fully rendered. So you're just going to play around with that arrow. Make sure you get something you like. For example, I really wanted the hair to look like it was in motion. So, you know, just play around here. I'm just fast forwarding. Once you have something you like, you click OK. And then you're going to turn on the top layer mask here. That's so you can see how it's going to look like a little bit on top. Now what you want to do here is erase the top layer with a soft brush, and you're going to select the areas that you don't care to be in motion, basically everything that is not the focus. In this case, I wanted the model's face to be in focus, so I decided to leave that untouched. Now you can leave the image here as you please. However, I don't think it's really has that wow factor. So one thing you can do here, which I did, was select the middle layer and add a hue and saturation as well as a clipping mask on it. Now you can change the colors, and now you can see where it gets interesting, right? I thought blue looked really cool. We're gonna merge all these layers, and I also added a scanner filter here. You don't have to do this, but I thought it worked with this. If you know how to do this, you just download it from Google, and then boom, pretty much you get your final image here. The really cool thing about this one is that you can actually play around with this and get all sorts of different results. For example, in this photo here, I literally just swiveled the thing and I didn't erase anything. I just sort of put the blur path on it, and then boom, we got some really cool stuff. So on to the next one. Okay, so this is the one you guys have been waiting for. This I like to call the clone jujitsu Naruto. All right, this is where you have several people in one photo, and it kind of looks very editorial. I actually saw this a long time ago. It's a very basic effect that you've probably seen several times on Instagram, but it's super simple to do. All you need are gonna be 4+ photos. 3, you could get away with 3 if you want, but 4. You want one main photo where you have the torso of the model up, and then 4 photos or 3, whatever you want to use, of a full body of the model, preferably in the same setting. This is also that the background is easier to match, and we will be using generative AI for this. You don't have to, but it just makes it easier for me to explain, and everybody has it nowadays in Photoshop, so let's get into it. All right, so now that we have all of our photos here in Photoshop, we have the main, the base, and the 2 clones. We're going to select the cropping size. So you just use the crop tool, and I'm going to do this for Instagram, so I selected this size, and then you can start kind of placing everything where you want it to be in the final image. This is obviously movable. You can do whatever you want. You can put it over the shoulder. You can also use the opacity tool to sort of match the sizes of the model to what you want the final image to be. Now, another thing you can do here is select the generative AI for the base photo, and make sure to select something that's really bright so that it matches the other clone photos. Now, you don't have to do it with generative AI, you can do this by yourself, but just for the sake of quickness, that's what I did. Now you're going to select the little clones and you're going to erase the background. It can be as clean as you want or not. I'm just kind of doing it quickly here. And then to add a little more realism, you can use the clone stamp to take the shadow from the first base image and add it onto the other two clones. Now this is just to add a little bit of realism. Obviously here you can see I'm a little sloppy with it, but you can take as much time as you want. I also use the clone stamp to kind of clean up some of the wider areas that looked a little too messed up. But yeah, once you have that, you can move on to your main image. And here you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to select the image here with object selection, and you're going to refine this. That's just a tool at the very top right that you can click on. This is going to make your image a lot crisper, and it helps a lot with the hair. You're going to delete the background, and boom, there you go. You can size this however you want, change things up. I added a little bit of grain, and there you go. Final photo. And last but not least, this is the big head edit, or as my wife likes to call it, a regular edit for me because I do have a gigantic head. And it's super easy to do. All you're gonna need is one photo where preferably you can see the whole model's body. The reason for it is because just perspective wise, if you're kind of cut off and you just put the head, it might not sell the effect as hardcore as if you show the whole body and it kind of has some weight to it. So one photo is all you need. Let's do it. Okay, now that we have our photo in Photoshop, we're just gonna do the basic thing. So you're gonna do object selection and you're gonna select the head. Just make a little square around it. It doesn't have to be perfect, and then just Control J. So now that's gonna make a copy and you can make that as big as you want. You can start playing here with the sizes. But what's important here is that you just get it at an angle that looks sort of realistic where the neck would be. What you can do next is take the eraser tool and delete all of those little imperfections that you see here. And you don't have to be too careful about it. You can honestly just make sure to get the most that's obviously wrong, because we're gonna fix that. But before we fix it, we're gonna add a little shadow underneath the neck to make sure that we have a really cool effect. You know, you really wanna sell that this is heavy and that it is casting shadows. So all I did was add a middle layer, use the brush, and then just added black, and then play with the opacity until it's something that you like. I thought that looked pretty realistic or close enough, and then you're gonna merge them. Now what you're gonna do is with the select tool, you're gonna select around the hair, around all the edges that you kind of messed up when you were erasing, and you're just gonna put hair and let it generative refill. Now this should help you out with the edges here, and just pick whatever style you think looks the closest to the original, and then boom, you can merge it. Now you can take it a step further and actually play with the curves here and the contrast. So I'm gonna add contrast first, play with the brightness, see what I like. And so this kind of cartoonish, I usually do this 3-dot thing. I wanted to make it really saturated and really hardcore in the contrast. So that is the final image here, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry that it felt a little bit rushed. If it did, I'm not sure. I still haven't edited it, but it is very cool to have you guys here seriously supporting me. And I would love to also see your versions of these photos. So if you do end up creating any of these effects on your personal photos, your portfolio, or for Instagram, tag me or share them with me. You don't have to give me credit, obviously, but I would love to check out your work. And I do follow a lot of you guys back, and it's really cool to see all of your work. You guys really inspire me, and I hope that I inspire you, or at least I give you some cool ideas with this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. Next time I see you, I'm going to somersault and take on a gorilla by myself. I don't need 100 people. I'm just one man, one gorilla. Let's do it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Here's everybody's Instagram, and I'm actually quitting photography officially and becoming the next Beethoven. I actually don't know how to play piano. Does anybody know how to play like a couple of keys?